What is up, Retromaniacs? Welcome to Retro Card Chat Podcast. I am Mike from Mike's Retro Trading Cards, and I'm joined today by two men who can play Super Monkey Ball all night long. They would be Joe Day and EP Eric.
One more.
How are you doing, guys?
I think we did the one more game for about 6 hours one night.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
All night long.
I don't have the traditional beer. I have a coffee in front of me. I'd say it's because we're filming earlier than usual, but I don't want to lie to the tens of viewers we have. It's actually, I'm dry for the month to prepare for the National.
Wow.
So I've got to get the liver and shit. I got to get it a little relaxed for when we get together for the National. So cheers.
People better hit us up if you're dry until the National, because the National is going to be a fun time.
About 3 beers in, I'll be like dancing on a bar or something. That's probably what's going to happen.
How's it going, EP?
I'm doing pretty good. Just got back from vacation. Had a great time.
Nice.
Yeah.
People don't understand
vacation?
that vacation and EP do not go together. So it's a rare occurrence when he's coming back from vacation.
Yep.
Well, I just recently had a birthday, and today, as we're filming, we're celebrating our nation's birthday. And
look at that segue.
We are so into our channel here that we kind of maybe forgot that we recently had our own birthday here. The channel is 1 year old. So since Joe is dry, I brought myself a beer.
Yeah.
And I'm going to
There we go, brother.
in celebration of all these birthdays. Woo!
And to think the first, watch out.
I got it a little high there. I was doing it left-handed. Not as good.
Cheers.
But
Cheers,
we are ready to go here.
They are. And it's crazy to think about a year ago, I was literally taking a pair of tile clips to a $5,000 2000 Tom Brady Bowman Chrome BGS 9. So
what a way to start the channel. I chalk it up to us really not having any idea what we're doing, obviously, back then. Not that we really do now, but maybe a little more so than we did then. But yeah, boy, that year went by pretty quickly. We do this for fun, and that's all it is to us. We don't have any illusions of being, a 100K subscription channel, but we do appreciate the people that tune in and watch and listen to us ramble on every week. And we do it for fun, but we really appreciate that. And 1 year in, here's to 2, 3, 10, 20 more.
Yeah, for sure. Cheers. Cheers on my coffee. I should have put some Baileys in here just to, that doesn't count, right? It's like cream.
It doesn't count. No, not at all. All right. Well, I'm going to get us started off today with some hobby news. So our first topic today, I don't know how many people follow this. If you're on card Twitter, I saw a lot of it on YouTube, but apparently there was a 30K card go missing this past week. I guess it was actually before that, but the story just kind of broke this week that a seller sold a $30,000 autograph card. EP, who was it?
I was going to ask the same thing.
I can't remember who it was.
But yeah,
no, it was Corbin Carroll. I think it was like a 9.5 with a 10 auto or something like that. A red.
Whatever it was.
EP, is he good?
Corbin Carroll was one of the top prospects in baseball. Yeah.
Okay.
But a $30,000 sale, and apparently the seller shipped it priority mail with no insurance. And somewhere between him shipping it and the buyer receiving it, it disappeared. Each one seems to be blaming each other. Wow. I don't even know where to start with this one. A lot to unpack here. Joe, crazy shipping it priority mail with no insurance. Come on.
It's funny. We talked just now about the Brady I cracked open a year ago, and I ended up selling that Brady card off eBay, which was risky, at the time for sure, because I wasn't as deep into, hobby Twitter and things like that as I am now. But I sold that off eBay for, about $5,000 worth of value, but I had to ship it. And it's a $5,000 card. I shipped it registered mail which means it gets signed for pretty much every stop. It takes a little bit longer, but I insured it for the full $5,000, and I ate a chunk of that because insurance isn't cheap.
Mhm.
But my God, until it gets to the buyer, it's still your card pretty
Yeah,
much until
it
they sign
is.
for it.
Mhm.
And it's just, I can't imagine doing that with $100 card. I didn't do it with a $5,000 card. I can't. It's mind blowing that someone would send a $30,000 card. I made the joke. It felt like maybe they just took the slab, put a stamp on it, and just threw it in a mailbox. I mean, what are you doing here?
No.
You got to be smarter than that.
Yeah, EP.
Yeah, I feel like you said the shipping or the insurance is expensive, but it's like a fraction of what the actual amount is.
Yeah.
Like really, like it's like I can't imagine sending a card, even $1,000 card. There's no way. $500 card. Like why would you not send it registered and insured? Like it makes no sense to me. I put the blame 100% on the seller in this one.
With signature confirmation too.
Yes.
Like
Yep.
Right.
I don't
Yep.
know what, I guess it was a wire transfer. So, there was no requirement of that like PayPal and stuff has, but like I don't like I know the seller's story is they think that maybe the buyer got it and it wasn't scanned, but like your responsibility as a seller, you can make sure that doesn't happen. Get the signature confirmation
Right.
on it.
Yeah.
Like I would like, you can't really trust anybody anymore. So you have to do everything you can to protect yourself. Like I mean, there were mistakes made on both sides with this whole thing, but at the end of the day, if you're selling it, the laws pretty much everywhere, unless you agree to something different, are that the seller has to, they're responsible for the package until it arrives in the buyer's hand. So you have to understand, if you're selling $30,000 cards, that you're taking the risk. Like, I don't know, you're trying to save a buck on a $30,000 sale. Like,
Right. I mean,
it blows
and
my
signature
mind.
confirmation is only like $2, I think.
Yeah.
Just even beyond the insurance part of it, just signature confirmation, I think would have been the trick. And I don't buy that the buyer did some sort of like, I'm gonna keep this card. It didn't get scanned, and I'm gonna try and scam to get this card, because it's not something that he can then resell. It's a
Yeah.
numbered card. I mean, I
Mhm.
think it's numbered to what, EP10.
I think
So
I think it was 5. It's a
Yeah, it was
red.
five.
It was a
so
red
I
refractor.
mean,
Yeah.
people are it's gonna be out there in the
Yeah.
market if someone did sell it or
No matter
steal
what
it. There's
happened
no
to it.
way.
Like, yeah.
Right.
Even if
Absolutely.
a postal worker or something stole it, that card is very well known now. So
Right.
what are you going to do with it? Like, even if you sold it to somebody, that knew what they had, like what are they going to do with it? Like, that card will always have that stamp of stolen on it. And even 10 years down the road, if you think you can sell a card like that you stole, like, you can't. Like, you
Right.
just can't
Right.
do it.
Right.
So
And it's, do you want that $30,000 card in your PC that then no one knows about? You can never
yeah,
sell.
Showing-
I just,
yeah.
never
yeah.
sell.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you could
um,
never get your money back out of that if you bought that
right.
stolen. So
We don't.
Go ahead, EP.
I was just gonna say we don't think that this is like a ploy by the seller or anything, right? Like this is he probably just said it was just a bad decision on his part to ship, right?
I would hope. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, we obviously don't know the details, and neither do
Mhm.
anybody else. So
Right.
like, I really think it would be kind of odd because the guy sells a lot of cards from what I understand.
Mhm.
And why would you risk your reputation
Right.
over something like that when people are going to know about it? People are going to know about it.
Right.
So I don't think there's anything nefarious on either side. I think maybe it was just lost, but
Mhm.
at the same time, the seller has to own up to the fact that he's responsible for it. And
I will say, I'm in 100% agreement that the buyer really didn't do anything wrong. But I will say, as a buyer, especially something that's not through eBay, I often make sure, if I buy something on hobby Twitter or another way, I often will say, as the buyer, how do you plan on shipping this? just to get them to verbally say it or
Mm-hmm.
type it out to me, so that maybe it puts my mind at ease, but maybe they say, and this has happened to me before, well, how would you like me to ship it? And I'll
Mm-hmm.
say, well, I'd prefer, I have someone who works from home, they can sign for it depending on the cost of the card, things like that. It's not the seller's, or I'm sorry, it's not the buyer's fault. He shouldn't have to do that. But just for me, when I buy cards, even $100 card, I will ask, how do you plan on packing and shipping this? Just to put that bug in the ear of the
Yeah.
seller. Again, not the buyer's fault, but it would put my mind at ease for sure.
Another layer too is apparently they were only like 3 hours apart.
Yeah, I saw that too.
I mean, I
What are you
don't
doing?
know if that's totally true, but let's assume for sake of discussion that it is. Like, I don't know. I know it's not possible for everybody to meet up on something, but $30,000 card, I think I would make sure both ends, whether I'm selling it or buying it, I'll meet you halfway. We can like turn stuff over there, can confirm the bank wire transfer then. Like, yeah,
Right.
a lot of people have brought that up too. And, I think it really made a lot of sense in hindsight.
Yeah, Chris Sewell, a sports card, baseball collector, investor, dealer, in that order. He actually he does some stories of him buying collections and things like that, and his business partner at the time meeting in places and
Mm-hmm.
going to the bank together if it's a high end sale and things like that. And he's talking about spending money on flights. He's talking about spending
Mm-hmm.
money in a hotel room. And in some cases, it's not even a $30,000 sale. This is
Yeah.
one card for $30,000. Even if they were 5 or 6 hours apart, spend the gas money. As expensive as gas is right now, it might actually be cheaper than insuring the card to mail it.
Yeah.
Spend the gas money,
Probably.
meet halfway. And I actually thought about that with that Brady. It was a 5,000, only a $5,000 card. The guy lived in King of Prussia. I
Mm.
legitimately thought about driving it to him because I didn't feel comfortable. But I went to the post office and asked them my options on mailing something like this, where it would put my mind at ease. But for 30,000, I'm in my car, I'm driving, or maybe I'm even taking a flight.
Mm-hmm.
Depending
Oh
on
yeah.
how much a Spirit airline ticket would cost to get to wherever it needs to go.
Right.
Well, here's to hoping that it eventually turns up and everybody ends up being happy because, I feel for both sides, regardless of who made a mistake or who did something they shouldn't have. Like you feel sick for both the buyer and the seller. If
Yeah,
either one of them
100%.
ends up losing out $30,000, like, ouch, like I feel for them.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And
all right.
the one last thing, the one
Mhm.
question I have for you, Mike, and we're not lawyers here. I'm just curious the legality of this transaction not being completed. Is this a mediation thing? Is it something that goes to a court of common pleas? I mean, I'm curious on where it goes from
Yeah.
here for those two individuals if the card is never recovered.
Well, I'm not a lawyer and this is not legal advice, but yeah, from everything I've read and I understand, like if you are doing business over mail and you have to send stuff, unless there is some other agreement to the contrary in place, that the seller is responsible for the safe delivery of the item to the buyer. So it's on them until the point where it's delivered. So, if it's delivered and somebody steals it off your porch, then that's a totally different thing. But from everything I've read and I've seen, it's just, you have to make sure you get it to them. They're buying it. They did what they had to do. Like, yes, you took it to a shipper, but you're responsible for picking a shipper that will get the product to the buyer. So, all right. Well, moving on to our next topic. Another big news item this week was PSA. Nat Turner himself, I believe, came out and announced that PSA will now be grading the 84, 85 star basketball cards once again. This is a big topic because they haven't graded them since I think the late 90s. Sometime in the 90s they did, and then there was a lot of controversy surrounding the star cards and reprints and counterfeits and stuff, and they they haven't graded them for a long time, and now they're going to start doing it again. And I think it's, you know, when I had the shop, the Star rookie card was the more valuable card back in the 90s. Like, you know, Fleer is considered his true rookie card because it was available in packs, because the Star cards came in team sets and they were only released that way. So that was always an XRC, but that was more valuable than the Fleer card was until, you know, all the rumors of counterfeiting and stuff started to come out. And, you know, I think, you know, this is really going to be interesting to see how the market reacts to the Star card versus the Fleer card and everything going forward. I don't know what it's going to do, but, you know, things are changing, and that's going to be huge news over the next couple of years.
One of the funniest comments I saw on Twitter was it was US Sports Cards, who I think all of us follow, and he made the comment to the effect of, I wonder how many Star rookie cards Nat Turner owns. And then Nat Turner actually responded to him, none actually, but I might, you know, but yeah, sure you don't. But you know, I didn't know about the Star sets in too much detail, other than that Jordan did have a rookie in there. The one thing it kind of reminded me of is, do you guys remember the USFL sets back in the day?
Mm-hmm.
It kind of reminded me of the Steve Young, you know, which one is his rookie card, you know, and a lot of people and the market has shown, and they do grade those. They do grade the USFL cards. So there is data on it. It kind of reminded me of those two cards, because a lot of people don't consider his 84 USFL as his true rookie card. They consider the 86. So I'm wondering, is that what's going to happen with the Star card now, where, well, the Fleer card is still his rookie card, but this one will hold a good amount of value to collectors who want something scarce? Because you've got to assume that the scarcity, once they start weeding out any counterfeits and reprints and things like that, the scarcity has to be much, much lower than the 86 Fleer.
Yeah, apparently I mean, the rumor is there were no more than 5,000 of each of the sets made. So
yeah,
if that is true, that means that there would be no more than 5,000 of that card total, not including potential counterfeit cards.
Right.
Yeah, I still think, because the Fleer was such a big part of the boom, like this ridiculous boom we're just coming out of, I still think that will remain his rookie card. But I agree that with something this limited and older than that card, it's gonna drive prices pretty high. I agree that 100%. I'm not a huge,
and it's got to scare the Fleer owners a little bit, right? It's got to, you know, I mean, if you're paying $250,000 for that card in a PSA 10 or whatever it got, I mean, it got beyond that at a certain point, and you see something that is much, much more scarce coming into the market, you know, you might be, I'm not saying that card's going to not have value anymore, but it's there's going to be an asterisk next to it, that is this really his true rookie card? Just because up until this point, PSA said the Fleer is his rookie card. You know, now PSA is saying, well, if we're going to grade these cards, they're kind of making the decision, since we're PSA, we're the market leader, we're deciding now that the Star cards will be graded, ostensibly saying now this is his rookie card.
I'm along with the argument, though, that since it didn't actually appear in packs, you can't pull it out of a pack. It's an XRC and not an RC. So I wouldn't.
So Andre, the Giants rookie card isn't his rookie card?
No, I mean, did it appear in packs? Then
no, they were sets.
Yep.
So
that's how I look at it. Got to be able to pull it up from a pack.
Part of the problem, you know, there's a lot of, like, PSA stopped doing it, like I said, in the late 90s. There was a lot of controversy and a lot of rumor and a lot of stuff that were said about the Star cards that actually turned out to not be true over the years. But, you know, back in the 90s, we didn't have the way to get the information out there like there is today. And, you know, originally there were all kinds of rumors. I know the guy who used to own Star was selling cards at Shop at Home in 1997 that had 1985 copyrights on them. And, that led to, the stories of, oh, the former CEO is reprinting the cards and selling them. But, what I was able to find out about that was they were either never cards that were released back in 85. I believe one was like a Jordan Olympic card. And like it had a couple of the other guys who were still in college that had played on the Olympic team, because he actually ended up getting sued for making those cards. But they weren't sets that were released in 85. And the other cards that they did, of cards that were released in the 80s, they did with a different color border. So he wasn't actually reprinting the cards that had been released, but people saw this stuff being sold on Home Shopping, saw what it was, and that was the rumor. Oh, the guy is just printing. He has the printing plates, he's printing these all out. We don't know what is what anymore. And from what else I found, there was also something called a Type 2 counterfeit. Apparently, one of the printers that they had two printers they used at the time. One of them, there was an employee there, and there was a batch of Jordan cards and other cards that were supposed to be destroyed because they weren't printed properly. And apparently that employee took those and sold those cards. He went around, I forget what the story was, but he said he had bought them from Star. So that was another thing, that people thought that the Star company was reprinting the cards, where they weren't reprinting them. These were ones that were printed, and there was stuff wrong with like the image, the coloring wasn't quite right, and they were supposed to be destroyed. And this person took them and said he bought them from Star. So, again, the rumor was they were being reprinted when they were never really being reprinted. From my research, what I found was they don't have any evidence that the cards ever were reprinted. So, PSA, I guess, has gotten to the point now where they have a couple graders, I guess, specifically that they're going to be using to authenticate and grade these cards, which I think is great, that they have, specific expert people there now, and all the cards that are sent in are going to go right to those people. So I feel like anything that you get from there, you're going to know, especially the newer stuff, that it's real. Like, there is probably a lot of the Type 2 counterfeits that have been graded and slabbed by all companies that people think are real, that you don't really have a real card. So I personally think the newer stuff that's graded by PSA should hold a little higher value over stuff that was graded, for the last 20 years.
And I think the stuff that was graded by PSA, there weren't many, I think, before they shut the valve off, but they should. I don't think there's any way to really recall it, but I mean, they should put some sort of disclaimer on anything that hasn't been graded since, whatever date, 2022, doesn't count. If you see a slab that has a serial number, this or this, it has not been verified that is the authentic Star rookie. I will, I have to bring it up every pod. It's kind of like PSA's trolling me at this point, because now they're opening up a set that they haven't graded for 20 years before they grade my cards. My cards have been at PSA for 469 days, and they have been checked in for 427 days. Just gotta let the viewers know that yes, they have decided to open up grading on a 20-year-old card before they get my cards back to me. Infuriating is the word I would use.
Well, in their defense, your cards are graded. They're just not slabbed and sent back to you. So they are graded.
They are graded.
I'm not really sure what you're complaining about.
The bottleneck, I guess, is in the slab process. EP, I got to push back on something you said before about how you don't consider it a true rookie because it came from a box set. Isn't Barry Sanders one of his more popular rookies from a set, the Topps Traded?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I mean,
that's not out of packs.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, but I think weren't a lot of the old Topps Tradeds, a lot of them are considered XRCs, or are they considered RCs now?
Yeah, they're
XRCs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So,
I mean, it does bring up that discussion, though, and let's throw that out there. Like, when back in the 90s when we collected, things were XRC, but they were still considered rookie cards.
Mhm.
I'll use like the Topps traded Ripken, that was considered, although that was a different year. But like, let's go with the Mark McGuire. He wasn't in the major leagues. That's a USA card,
Yeah.
but that has always been considered his rookie card, even though it was technically an XRC. So, I feel like even back in the 90s, it was kind of selective with that, but it didn't necessarily affect value. Like the Jordan, like I said, was definitely worth more in a star than it was a Fleer. Like I had a shop, I saw probably 10 Fleer cards for every one star card back in the
Do
day
you
when
wish you bought all those up, by the way?
yeah, I did have some star at one
Did you
point
really?
too.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
I remember one time I got a small collection that had some in it I paid quite a bit for. But yeah, so like, I don't know that that's necessarily going, like the fact that the Jordan, technically the Fleer is the true rookie card. I don't know over time if that's going to make it remain more valuable. Like I would be a little worried if I owned like a high grade PSA Fleer Jordan. Not that it's going to be worthless, but I do worry that the star card now being authenticated could impact the value of that.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of made the point about the USFL cards. I'm a big Warren Moon fan, so his Topps 85 is his true rookie, but he also had CFL cards.
Mm-hmm.
It's different because it's they were in different leagues. I get that, but it's still the first card they were on.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how I feel about the Jordan. This is the first card he actually was on. So to me, XRC, RC, whatever, it doesn't matter to me. It's the first card he actually was on.
Mm-hmm.
And the scarcity of it is just, by the way, our dogs are hilarious today, Mike.
Yeah.
But, with it being the first card he was on and the built-in scarcity everyone loves, I mean, you're right. I'd be worried too. What kind of financial impact will it have on the Fleer Jordan? It's funny. I watched the Sports Card Dad recently, and I think he was talking about this, and he had the Fleer Jordan poster
Mm-hmm.
behind him as he was. I'm like, is he going to take that down and put a star rookie poster behind him? And it'll also be interesting to see how it's graded. How PSA, you know, how they look at that card that's probably just been in people, I assume, a sleeve and top load because they couldn't really do much with it in
Mm-hmm.
terms of grading. I wonder how those have lasted. So if the pop count is like, say, 1,000 come in and there's 2 PSA 10s, could you just imagine the value of those 2 cards or
Oh
3 cards or
yeah.
whatever it is? I mean, it's going to be interesting to compare apples to apples. The height of the Jordan, I don't think is fair because that's when the boom was. Probably the Jordan right before the boom versus the star, or maybe the Jordan now after the boom versus the star in a similar grade. It's going to be very interesting to see how close those actually get.
Mike, those star cards that you had back in that set, was there any point where you thought to yourself, I wonder if these are counterfeit, or did you know for sure they were not? Like what when did you buy them, and what, just go over that a little bit?
That was in the early 90s. So,
Okay.
I didn't really have reservations about that. That was kind of, I think it was kind of before all the other stuff started to come out, because most of that, I know the type 2 counterfeits were released, I think sometime 92, 93 time
Okay.
frame. But then, the supposed reprints that the owner did, they were like 97, I think they started. So it was definitely before that. So yeah, I didn't, I don't remember that being during a time period where I was really concerned about there being fakes. I'm sure there were, but like we've talked about this before, fakes now are a lot better than like fakes back then. Like when you're talking about real fakes, people, trying to make a version of this card instead of, something like the type 2 counterfeits that were actually printed by one of their printers. So, I didn't really have any issues with it, and no issues ever came out of it too. So
How much do you think those cost you back in the day, or how much do you think you sold them for? Just out of curiosity.
I have no idea. I mean, that was so long ago, I can't even remember. But I know there was one Jordan in there, and it wasn't in the greatest of shape. I want to say I have like a faint memory of selling it for maybe like $400 somewhere, hundreds of dollars, not thousands.
Yeah, right.
But there were, pretty sure I had like Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, and might have had like Charles Barkley or one of the other rookies.
Well, I was going to make that point. We're talking just the Jordan. It's not just the Jordan, though. We talked about this off before we were recorded. I mean, Barkley has a rookie. Doesn't Clyde Drexler have a rookie? I'm trying to think of who
Elijah
else.
One, Charles Barkley.
One. Yeah. So, I mean, it's going to be, obviously not at the same level, but there is going to be a lot of value to grade all of the a lot of the cards, because there weren't basketball cards from one of the major companies for 2 or 3 years. So it'll be interesting to see how those values compare to their Fleer counterparts. I suspect percentage wise, it'd probably be the same as the Jordan on a smaller scale.
Yeah. And they should, it'll be interesting to see how many are returned as not real too. So at this point, be interesting. You're talking about 2022 now. There are a lot more counterfeit star cards, I'm sure, of Michael Jordan now than there were back in the 90s. So,
and really good ones.
Yeah. So, but I mean, they're very specific things that they look for, and knowing that PSA has specific people that are going to be working on it, they're probably going to catch a lot. I'm guessing the graders know what they're doing. I have trust in them with this decision, that they're okay, these guys are going to catch anything fake, but the collectors that are sending them in are not going to be that knowledgeable about it. And especially now, you're talking almost 30 years after, or 40 years, after those cards were released. There are a lot of people collecting today that really, other than what they can find reading online or something, don't know anything about those cards. And there are going to be a lot of people make mistakes. They think they have something that's real. They might be people that had them for 30 years. Thinking it was real.
They're going to get charged by PSA, by the way. That's the one thing PSA doesn't, if there's a min size or something like that, where it's okay, there's no malice of forethought in sending this card in, it's just, you didn't know any better, we'll send it back and you don't get charged for it. But if there's evidence of tampering or trimming or anything like that, or sending in something fake, they will charge you for it. And I'm suspecting these cards are going to be $300 to get graded, just in terms of the, so, you have someone who's, you have a bunch of people who are probably going to send these in, have no intention of trying to scam anyone, but think they have a Jordan now rookie, and they're going to get charged $300 and it's going to get returned. I think maybe some exceptions should be made, but I knowing PSA, there will not be.
It'll be interesting.
I'll get charged for those. I'll just put it on Joe Day's account. It's fine.
It'll be interesting too to see how many people buy. If you have a BGS, here's a question for you. Say you have a BGS 8. Do you crack that out and run the risk of it maybe not being real, one of the ones that slipped through, or do you leave it in a BGS 8?
Well, all those are going to drop in price, right? I would assume all those other ones are going to really plummet if it's not one of the new PSA ones. Wouldn't you think?
That's what I was going to say.
You would think that. I mean, BGS though, they've been grading them, and from what I've read, they have authenticators that are pretty good there too. So, I don't know. It's not like BGS was just going, oh yeah, we'll take them, we don't care.
Just grade anything,
just having a novice grader look them over. They've been authenticating them for a while now. So, I think you have just because PSA is now doing it, it will probably make PSA more valuable because that's how the market works, right? But I don't think that in and of itself should.
Now, here's another wrinkle. If I'm a buyer and I see a BGS one super cheap on eBay, I'm buying it. And I'll tell you why. It's getting sent to PSA to be authenticated.
Mm-hmm. You won't see
They're,
them super cheap though, because
well,
you're going to have a lot of other people that are now going to be looking for BGS. I think
let me rephrase: cheaper than PSA, as
Yeah.
BGS cards are. You know, what's the percentage difference between a Jordan BGS 9 from 86 Fleer and a Jordan PSA 10 or PSA 9 from 86 Fleer? I mean, that
Do you think this
percentage
will
is probably.
be a situation though, like Tom Brady cards? Because you look at Tom Brady cards all the time, Joe, and you realize like there's not a huge difference in the PSA and BGS grading for the same reason, because people are looking for BGS graded cards or SGC to crack out to send to PSA. So
Yeah.
even though like they're a lot closer in price than like a normal card would be.
Yeah, and it depends on the card too, because I think about doing that myself with Brady rookies. Is I'll look at I'll use the example Pacific Prism because it's one of my favorite sets. I'll look at the card pretty closely and determine whether I think it'll get, say it's an 8.5. If it'll get a 7, I would be comfortable looking at it because of the price difference. But BGS, the way they grade, I mean, the edges are terrible in that card, right? So that won't hurt a BGS slab as much because every other subgrade will bring everything up. So it could be a BGS 9, but if I crack it, it might only get a PSA 7 because the edges are that bad.
Yeah.
So it's hard to kind of determine what, but I get your point. I mean, it's not like you're going to get them at 25 cents on the dollar. You're probably paying 75% of what a PSA equal grade would be. But yeah, I mean, if there is an opportunity to even get it at 75%, though, I mean, if you're a high price investor and your exposure is pretty limited, isn't it? I mean, if they are being sent to PSA to be authenticated in that BGS slab, you have almost zero exposure. So, I mean, if I had the money to do it, I'd probably be scarfing some up, and if they get sent back not authentic, cool, didn't cost me a dime.
Would you crack out a BGS EP?
No, I wouldn't crack anything. Are you kidding me? I've seen Joe do it. And there's just too much anxiety. No chance.
Okay, now say you could easily get it cracked without damaging the card. Would you?
Yeah, but I mean, I don't
crack
trust
out your BGS to send it to PSA?
Probably not. I would just sell it as is. Just move it.
It's interesting seeing the difference between you two.
Oh yeah, I cracked that bad boy.
Mr. Vegas up here in the upper
Mr.
right
Vegas.
Yeah.
Give me
Mr.
top clips,
down
baby. Give me those top clips.
Feels like a lot of extra work. I already got a 10. I'll sell the 10.
There you go.
Would you guys buy a raw star Jordan rookie, or would you would you get one that was sealed in the one of the team bags? If it was, do you think there are any of those still out there?
No. I mean, there are some, because PSA said they may actually grade like the whole set in a team bag. So there are ones out there, but like just because it's in a team bag doesn't mean they aren't fake too.
Right.
So they can fake the sets too.
The authentication here doesn't apply for a raw one because, no offense to CSG, they're the ones who are authenticating that something is authentic.
Yeah.
And if they aren't grading those or aren't authenticating those, they don't have someone in-house to look at those specifically, that now you're full exposure. They could say, sure, it's authentic, or they might just say, no, we don't know. So we're not going to take the risk in our reputation. So that, there's a good chance it'd just be sent back anyway.
All right. Well, that'll be interesting to see how it plays out. And, hopefully we'll be doing this pod for a couple more years and we'll be able to revisit this, but going to change gears a little bit here now. We know that the National Sports Card Show is coming up very soon and we are all heading there for the first time. And we're just going to talk a little bit about that and just a little preview of what we might be looking forward to the most. Get us started, Joe.
I'm looking forward to the road trip. We haven't done
Uh,
a Mike's road trip in a while. But yeah, so we're riding out. What, Thursday morning, I suspect, or I forget when
Friday morning.
our
We're going
Friday morning.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. We've never been to one before. Even when we were really deep into cards in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was something that was absolutely never on my radar. I don't know if it was on yours, Mike, as a shop owner,
No,
but
it was never on mine either.
yeah, we would go to little card shows over in the Buckhorn Mall or something, Selinsgrove Mall, something like that. But we never thought about going to a big show like this. So I'm sure it will be overwhelming, but I'm kind of looking forward to, I'm a big guy. I'll full back my way through those, through some of those crowds, but it'll be interesting. I just want to kind of see the sheer size of it and kind of, actually be able to hold cards that I'm thinking about buying, which is something that is so rare nowadays.
Definitely.
I feel like this is the first time it's been this close, right? Like has it ever been on the East Coast before?
I mean, it may have been, I don't know, but I don't remember it specifically being like, I don't ever remember thinking, oh, it's only in so-and-so. That's not far to where I want to go. I mean, it may have been, it just was really never on my
think
radar.
every other year it's definitely in Chicago. I think that's like, it's set every other year it's in Chicago. So I don't know every other year. I don't know where they end up with it.
Yeah. I thought it was in Chicago or out West. I thought that was the two different ones. But yeah, I mean, I'm also excited to, just to see the spectacle of it. Like, I'm a big fan of witnessing stuff like that, just seeing that many collectors, that many dealers all in one spot. It's going to be pretty wild. And just, see who they have there as signers for autographs, that sort of stuff. Going to be really cool.
Yeah, there was a good list of what I've seen so far. I'm going to take one of these, not this one specifically, but one of these hats. And I'm going to have some Pit players sign it because I know Marino's going to be there, and I know Dorset's going to be there, or Dorset, depending on what part of the state you live in.
Yeah, I mean, like, just the spectacle alone is enough to get me excited. Like, I've never been to a card show that big. I can't wait to walk in the first day and just be like, wow. Pretty much anything and everything that you could be interested in. I'm going to look for a list of things that, we'll be talking about on a future episode of what we're going to be looking for. But, and I'm actually kind of looking forward to meeting some people too, hopefully, some of these people you get to know on Twitter, or even, people from YouTube and whatnot. It'd be cool to just, stop by, say, hey, how you doing? And, catch up with them for a minute or two. So I think that'll be pretty cool.
Well, my top priority is to find Jeff Wilson and get some investing advice from the Sports Card Investor.
Of course.
That's number one priority for me. But that's
you're gonna be running around there like chasing the YouTube people, like, oh my god, you're gonna be like,
there's a couple I really want to do.
Look who it is!
Look who it is!
Oh my god, I'm gonna get his autograph.
No, I think the weirdest thing to me would be, I as an adult male, I've always thought it's weird to like go up to people and ask for pictures with them, and even athletes, especially if they're like in their 20s and I'm now 40. It feels weird to me, so I don't think I'm going to go up and fanboy over any YouTube content creators.
You might.
I mean, I will say, if Alico 3 is there, I'm gonna be like, dude,
I'm your biggest fan.
I'm your biggest fan. Let's talk about Brady rookies for like 2 hours. Let's just hash it out. But I think there are going to be, and it'll be interesting to determine too, like what we want to do in terms of like videoing during the show. We're not going to get those fancy VIP or media. Well, EP, you might be able to get a media badge, right?
Probably not at this point. It's probably too late for that. But even if I did, I'd have to work. So I'm not doing that.
That's fair. That's fair. But so we're not going to be able to like, hey, can I film this transaction? Can I do this, do that? We're not important enough for that. But I would like to film a lot of the stuff that we see, just, for people that don't get a chance to go to the national, maybe they don't watch some of the bigger content creators and they are loyal to Mike's retro trading cards. I'd like to video some of the stuff that goes on there, and hopefully there's some deals that are had by the three of us. We can pick up some cool items and talk about those, and of course, it's going to be a month, so I'm going to need a drink or two or 10. So
after
first round's on you, Mike, by the way. First round's on you. I forget what you sold. I forget what you sold or you got back from PSA or something, but as soon as I saw
it was the LeBron James.
Was it a LeBron?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so
the PSA 10 that I sold. Yeah.
So first
round on me.
Mike.
Yeah.
First round on Mike.
Yeah, as much fun as the actual national show will be, I am definitely looking forward to after we leave the show too, because Atlantic City, boardwalks, casinos, alcohol. Yeah. Gonna be a good time. I have to remember that I'm no spring chicken anymore, so need to pace myself a little bit.
EP has a superpower, which I envy so much, that he does not get hungover. Man, I can drink. We sound like alcoholics on right now, but
you are not me.
Yeah, I mean functioning, but I can drink with the best of them. But man, oh man, as I've gotten older, the next morning I feel like I cannot get up out of bed, and my bones are made out of, Jello. And EP's like, I'm ready to go. That's what I think is going to happen. Like at 9 in the morning, EP's like, ready for a beer? What are we doing?
Yep.
EP is going to be pre-gaming before we go to the card show, which could be very entertaining when we get him there.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll actually, spend $1,000.
Yeah.
Okay. One last question on this before we wrap up. Joe, are you taking any cards to have PSA grade?
That ain't cool, man.
Sorry.
I'm going to walk up to their stand. I'm going to walk up. Do you have beeping ability? I'm going to walk up their stand and say, give me my cards. Where are my cards? Did you bring them?
Joe gets kicked out the first day. Joe gets kicked out.
Joe's on the blacklist.
I'm being escorted by bouncers out of the convention center because of PSA felt threatened. Maybe my cards will come in before then. Who knows?
What are the chances of that, Joe? Come on.
No
0.0.
All right. Well, that sounds like a good place to wrap things up. As always, a great chat, and we will be back next week. Take care, fellas.
See you later.
Guys.